In this lesson, we're going to talk about rotations, which is part of the family of transformations. Rotation is basically a turn, okay? Or some people might call it a spin, okay? So if I take a shape and I can rotate it two directions. First is clockwise, which goes like a clock, and the second is counterclockwise, okay? So in order to rotate, we need to know what direction we're going to rotate, and we also need to know the angle of rotation, which is how many degrees the shape turns or rotates. Okay? Now, if it does not tell you what direction to rotate, it's automatically counterclockwise. So let's try some examples. What we're going to do here is we're going to graph the image of the figure using the transformation given. Okay, so number one tells me to rotate this triangle BXN 90 degrees counterclockwise, which again is to the left. Okay, so if I picture that, I know it's going to rotate that direction 90 degrees. So it's probably going to end up in this quadrant over here somewhere. Okay, now there's a rule for rotations for 90 degrees counterclockwise. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my original coordinates, which I have written here, okay, and what's going to happen is we're going to switch the x and y. Okay, we're going to switch their spots, and I'm going to change the y sign from whatever it is opposite. So if you look at B, for instance, if I rotate just a point B, and I'm going to make this B prime, I'm going to switch those two numbers. So 1 will be the x, negative 4 will be the y, and I'm going to switch the sign on this number, which will make it negative 1, negative 4, which is going to be right here. Okay, I'm going to do that same thing with x. So x prime, again, switch the two numbers. So negative 2, negative 3 would be switched. And then I'm going to change this number opposite of what it is. So I'm going to change that to a positive. So it's positive 2, negative 3, which is right here. That's x prime. And n prime, okay, again, I'm going to switch the numbers. So it's negative 4, negative 5. And I'm going to switch the sign on the original y value. So that becomes positive 4, negative 5. And when I connect those, see that triangle has been rotated 90 degrees counterclockwise. Now keep in mind, 90 degrees counterclockwise is the same thing as 270 degrees clockwise. Same rule will apply. Okay, let's try the next one. All right, now we're going to rotate the image, or rotate the pre-image 180 degrees. All right, so 180 does not matter the direction because it's going to end up in the same spot. So the rule for 180 degrees is taking the original coordinates and just switching their signs. Okay, so B, which is negative 4, 1, we'll call this double prime, would switch to positive 4, negative 1. Positive 4, negative 1. All right. X would change from negative 3, negative 2 to positive 3, positive 2. Positive 3, positive 2. All right? Yeah. Well, that doesn't make sense. Sorry, I made a mistake. Let's go back to B. Okay. I forgot to switch the sign, so it should be +4, -1. If I switch the signs on those, so +4, -1. There you go. That's better. Okay, x would change from -3, -2 to +3, +2, which is right here. And n, switch the signs on those, would be +5, +4. +5, +4 would be right here. You see that triangle has been rotated 180 degrees. Okay, next we're going to rotate that same shape, okay, which I'm going to use these original coordinates again. All right, this time we're going to rotate it 90 degrees clockwise. So the rule for that, I'm going to take my original coordinates, all right, I'm going to switch the y and the x again, but this time I'm going to change the sign on the original x value here, okay? So let's talk about b. B is -4, -4, +1, so I'm going to switch those. 1, -4, switch their spots, and then I'm going to change the sign on that value, which this will make that a +4. So +1, +4. Would be right here. That's B double prime, or sorry, triple prime. Okay, let's do x. So x was -3, -2, so let me flip-flop those, -2, -3. And I'm going to change the sign on the second number, which is +3. So it's -2, +3, which is right here. That would be x triple prime. And n, I'm going to take n's coordinates, which were -5, -4. I'm going to flip-flop those, -4, -5, and switch the sign on the second number. So change that to a positive. So -4, +5 will end up right here. And then when I connect those, you can see that that triangle has rotated 90 degrees clockwise. All right? Now, 90 degrees clockwise is the same thing as 270 degrees counterclockwise. So the same rule will apply if it ever asks you about rotating it 270 degrees counterclockwise. Okay, last, we're going to rotate some points around a given shape, okay? So this one wants me to rotate, make a 45-degree rotation of G. Here's G, about Z. Now, about just means around. So Z would be the rotation center, and it doesn't tell me a direction, so it's automatically counterclockwise, okay? So I know I'm going to rotate it that direction, okay? So what happens is, first thing we got to know is, if I rotate it to the next letter, how many degrees did that go, okay? So, in order to figure out these angles in here, all of these angles are going to be the same, okay? These are all congruent. And to figure out that angle, okay, which is called a central angle, we're going to take 360 and we're going to divide it by the number of sides. Okay, so we're going to go 360, and in this case, this shape has 8 sides, so I'm going to divide it by 8, and that's 45 degrees. Okay, so each one of these is 45 degrees. All right? All those angles are all 45. So if I were to rotate G 45 degrees counterclockwise, it would end up on I. So I would be the image, point I. Okay? Okay, next we're going to take E. E is right here. And we're going to rotate that around Z 315 degrees. Okay? So if I move it once, that's 45. If I move it again, right, that would be another 45, makes 90. If I rotate it again, all right, that's going to be 135. I rotate it again. That's going to be 180. All right, I'm trying to reach 315. I keep going. All right, that would be 225. If I rotate it again, all right, that's going to be, what's that? 270. And finally, rotate it one more. That gives me 315. So that one lands on I as well. So I is the answer for both of those, coincidentally. Okay, so we went over the rules on how to rotate 90 degrees clockwise, counterclockwise, a 180-degree rotation, and we also rotated around a given shape as well. Okay, hope you got something out of the lesson. Have a nice day.